I think post or reply got viral on Twitter.
And I click the pen and I say, "Hey, who's the Prime Minister of India?"
So should they focus on traditional path like DSA plus software first, or jump directly to AI and ML?
I said that AI is great because it worked out
Yeah.
for me. It's not just about offers.
So that is why probably like people should be active on Twitter.
Multiple experiment after experiment after experiment, things don't work out for you.
Curiosity is your life. First of all, very welcome, Sambhav. It is the first time we are talking live. Otherwise, in most cases, we are talking in DMs or in comments mostly. So it is really nice that we are talking live as well. So you can just let us know about you, like what you're doing these days, and then we will move forward from there on.
Yeah, so basically, I'm an open source contributor and an AI enthusiast. So
Yeah.
in the day, I basically work for a company named Emergent, which is like a lovable alternative, where we
Mhm.
support vibe coding for like websites and other such
Yeah.
applications. And
Yeah.
on a personal side of things, I am since I'm an open source contributor, and I've been one for a very long time now. And I
Yeah.
have a knack for contributing to AI related projects. I
Yeah.
tend to be a heavy contributor towards many of the AI organizations like Hugging Face and stuff, where I try
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
integrate the latest AI developments into them and keep them on par and pace.
Awesome. So I have seen your contributions, and also in one of their releases, they mention you as well. So that is really awesome, to be honest. And you also contributed to Get Pieces, as much as I know, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been contributing. So, if we look back towards how I started out contributing towards open source, since Pieces
Mm-hmm.
has been
Yep.
some time now, I've always had a knack for contributing, giving back to the community kind of thing. That's always been a thing that I
Yeah.
wanted to do. But obviously, in the early years, I was learning skills and developing a lot of things. And I feel like since I started out from scratch, while going through that, especially in the Python environment of things, I felt that a lot of the things actually came out of open source. A lot of the
Yeah.
especially in AI, if you're looking at it,
Yeah.
a lot of the core libraries that we work with, from data science to ML,
Yeah.
it's very like based out of open source. You cannot
Yeah.
go through AI without going through TensorFlow, PyTorch, or Pandas, for that matter of fact, or a lot of other things. And when you do that, you find that, oh, a lot of these things actually come out of people coming together and contributing in a for a common cause. So for
Yeah.
that very reason, when even when I started learning, and I've always been the kind of guy who kind of goes into depth rather than just looking at it at a surface level.
Yeah.
I always have the
Yeah.
feeling that once people actually get a knack of things, they're not just
Yeah.
working for an org, they're actually going out there and they're actually
Yeah.
coming together and building something that's
Yeah.
uniquely motivating for helping building other things, libraries, for example. So I had
Yes.
that thing that once I get to a level where I know something, I'll definitely go out there and help people build their own libraries and stuff. So
Okay.
once I started doing internship through college, I found an organization named Pecan, which eventually turned to my Google Summer of Code organization.
Yeah.
And eventually from there, once I had some idea during my GSOC, I learned a lot of things. I'll be honest, before that, I had a very choppy idea of how open source worked. And since I had worked in organizations before, I had an idea of how corporate worked. But
Yeah.
apart from that, I didn't necessarily know how these large organizations like collaborated entirely over texts, and
Yeah.
how there were like these huge open source meetups where people came together and discussed stuff and like example, etc.
Yeah.
So that was my first interaction with like a huge open source community, and I
Open
loved
source.
that a lot. So
Yeah.
from there on, I moved on to contributing to other things. I didn't know Pieces was open source, even though I used them for like 1.5 years prior to
Yeah.
knowing. But one day I found out that, oh, these guys are actually open source and I've been using them
Yeah.
for so long now. So then I started contributing.
So the same
Yeah.
thing happened with me as well. Like I was using Posthog in one of my product. It is one of the product that I really love. And one day I realized that they are open source. So if you want, you can contribute to them as well.
I'll give them a look for sure.
Yeah, sure. Hi. So, just a little update. If you try to contribute to open source projects, but you are not able to do so, and also whenever you contribute to open source projects, you feel really hard and you are not able to make open source contributions, and also you are not able to build a solid portfolio of work through the open source contributions. So, if that is the case, for that I have created OpenSox Pro, and in OpenSox Pro we do weekly sessions, one-on-one calls. Also we have OpenSox Pro platform that include newsletters, project search, and a lot of things. And also we do have a Slack community that is active 24/7, and I will be there to help you as well. So if you want to check out OpenSox Pro, then please feel free to do so. And the reason I am telling you right now is because currently it's at heavily discounted price, so almost half. And there are many people, almost 70 people have joined. So again, do this only when you see the value. So I would really appreciate if you read it on this particular link, and if you feel like it's good enough for you, then you can go for it. Otherwise, sorry for interrupting you. You can enjoy the video. Bye. You also are like
Mm.
more of a AI/ML side, so I'm going to ask a lot of questions related to AI/ML. Some of the questions are mine, and some of the questions are coming from the community. So there is a community that I told them that I'm inviting Sambhav, and he is AI engineer. And so, what questions you would like to ask? So they gave me a huge list of questions. So I would ask them one by one. So let's start with the first question, that is, how did you get interested in AI/ML? Like even today, there are people who instead of getting into AI/ML, they choose software engineering, that traditional software engineering, and some people just go heavy on development side of the thing, like startups and all of that. So how did you choose AI/ML? What made you choose particularly AI? Or also there were lots of options, like you could have chosen Web3. So why only AI and ML? So what were your first steps and curiosity?
So for my case, it's more of I am like a try everything and then pick your choice kind of guy. So when I started in my first year of college, I was just exploring a lot of things. I didn't know I was
Mhm,
trying learning languages and stuff. When I came in my second
mhm,
year, my seniors told me that it's high time now. We need to start doing development. So I was like, okay, what are the
mhm.
all types of developments out there? So my senior told me, oh, there's web development, there's app development, there's this, that, and I didn't know
Yeah.
any of them. So I was like, okay, I'll explore all of them. So I did a little bit of web development, I did a little bit of app development. I clearly was
Yeah.
not very good with UI, UX and stuff. So I knew that
Mhm.
web and app would not suit me fine. I also tried
Yeah.
Web3, but back then the market was skeptical, and even though I was liking it a lot, but eventually, then I was also exploring other things. And as
Mhm.
for my choice for AI/ML, it's like a little bit of a troll story, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I love trolling my friends and pranking them. So there was this one day where I was just sitting and I already knew Python. So
Yeah.
I used that PyAutoGUI library and I built a
Mhm.
WhatsApp spam bot.
Mhm.
Initially, it used to spam stickers, and then it used to spam some songs from different text
Okay.
from different songs. So
Mhm.
my friends got little irritated, but I loved it. So I realized that this thing had a lot of potential, not just
Yeah.
in terms of how I could prank people, but also in terms of the sheer amount of creativity. And as I started
Okay.
doing stuff, I started doing a lot of things. I used to game a lot. So I used to do when I started with some data science, data analytics, and I found that you could
Mhm.
actually gather data from the web out there, and then you could
Yeah.
do some data analytics as to how you could most efficiently play a game. What would be
Yeah.
the best resources to spend on and stuff. And then moving on
Yeah.
to ML, it was like a crazy huge amount of opportunities. So for a guy
Mhm.
like me, I realized that this was the field where if I could think something and I had the
Mhm.
capability to implement it, there was probably a way I could actually do it. So it gave my
Mhm.
creativity wings, and that is why I felt like this was the field for me. So that like felt like a very natural fit going on forward. And I did every step of the way, obviously. But by the time when I got to LLMs, and I had a knack for ML, like
Yeah.
mathematics in particular. So
Yeah.
probabilistic distributions, so, all of this stuff. So when I got to LLMs and I got to realize how the probability distributions across LLMs, attention itself manipulates and works in the LLMs, and how
Yeah.
mathematics has been so beautifully used in these architectures, I fell in
Yeah.
love. So I was like, "Ki, this is the kind of thing that I want to do. If there's something I want to do with my life, this is what I want to do." So that is how I got into
Okay.
AI, and that's how I pursued it
And
through the way.
so also like so as you started with AI ML and like you got the interest. So what was your first professional work or like a step in that AI ML thing? So how did you like get your first work? I mean, it could be like an internship or it could be your first open source work. So how did you get that? Like initially, the first one basically.
Yeah, so this is also very interesting. So the thing is, my first official like internship was not actually in AI ML. It was in
Hmm.
some so there's this company named Quick Rishi, which maintains a library named Qiskit, which is related to
Yeah.
quantum computing. So I coordinated a little bit with them. I didn't necessarily contribute anything as such. I was coordinating on a couple of problems with them, and then eventually said, "Hey, you know Python? We are building some sort of a Django backend. Come work
Yeah.
with us." So I worked with them. But again, I was parallelly working on
Mhm.
AI, and I had an interest there. So I took part in a Kaggle contest once, and I got a
Mhm.
podium finish on that Kaggle contest. And that contest was being
Mhm.
hosted by a US based edtech unicorn named ByteLearn. So they approached me and they said, "Hey, would you like a job?"
So also, as much as I can remember, there was a time when one of your, I think, post or reply got viral on Twitter. So what was the story like behind it?
My entire Twitter account, I started it as this learn in public thing. Before that, also
Yeah.
it was there a long time before that, but
Yeah.
obviously it was like a very static thing, and it didn't have that much reach. But I it was the time at my previous companies where I was working as an intern, and I was not sure if I was getting converted or not, and how those things would turn out. I was not really sure. So then I saw some posts there, and then I thought I'd just reply, and this was just one of those casual replies where I didn't actually anticipate this to blow up all that much. So it was just about what I had done in college. I think the post was something about what you should do in college, what you should not do. So I
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
a little distraught, and I was like, these are all the things that I've done, and here's a screenshot of my resume as well, and if anybody can suggest me any improvements as well, that would be great. And then that miraculously blew up. So that was quite an experience.
Okay. So I think you also got the full-time offer at the company, right? Atomic Work. Because I had
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
the founder replying to it, and he said that we offered him a job.
Yeah, so eventually things turned out all right, and I got a job there. So yeah, that was that.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So that is why probably like people should be active on Twitter and they should make good tweets like you so that they end up having offers.
I mean, it's not just about offers. I feel that you should probably tweet because it gives you great networks. Apart
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the offers is one thing. But see, for example, I met you, we got to know each other from that point, I
yeah,
think, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I got
exactly.
to find a lot, yeah. I got to find a lot
Yeah,
of wonderful people in my network. We would not have been having this conversation had that post not gone viral. So I feel
exactly.
like you should really post the stuff you do. That gives you a lot
Yeah.
of things, a good network at least.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And that is the best thing I love about Twitter because, see, the only thing that I needed in my life, like since childhood, that was exposure and basically having the people who are in the same niche. So Twitter made that thing easy. Like, yeah, if I'm able to talk to you and if I'm able to have an AI researcher on my podcast, then that is because of Twitter, I would say.
Exactly. To add to that, I would say that both. open source, my one of the part for my motivation to contributing to open source was also because of the exposure and the network I would get. Because
Yeah.
irrespective of which college you are from, it does not really matter. The kind of people that you would meet out there, the maintainers that you talk to, the kind of
Yeah.
knowledge and experience that they have, you will find it very hard to even come close to that in any close circle.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah.
Twitter also replicates that in a very good way, because eventually over time you get to connect to like-minded people, or at least follow people who are actually doing great things in that
Yeah.
particular domain. So you're already ahead of the bubble if you are in that part of the network. So I feel like that really gives you an
Yeah.
edge.
Exactly, exactly. If we want to have a circle like in the same niche, and it apply as I realized that this applies to everything. Like we are in tech, but there are also people on Twitter who are in different niche. Let's say robotics and let's say farming or beauty products. So they also have a community and they get the exposure. They also understand how we do business in these things. So there are community, I think, for everything, not just related to tech. People think it is all about tech, but I think there are communities other than tech as well on Twitter.
Yeah, it's more about collaboration. When you
Yeah.
interact with similar people, irrespective of which field you're a part of, you actually get to learn a lot more than you would just do by your own self. And
Yeah.
that's like a good way of learning, because it's more efficient, and moreover, it's actually fun, because it's best when you feel like learning is not like being pushed over or forced over you. You're just
Yeah.
getting that passively out of somebody else's learning, and likewise. So it's a great
Yeah.
feeling.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So, so now these were my questions, and now let me ask you the questions asked by the community. So, the first question is
Sure.
for the students who are being overwhelmed. So, if someone has a CS background but is new to AI, so should they focus on traditional path like DSA plus software first, or jump directly to AI and ML?
See, in my opinion, I would treat, as far as DSA is concerned, I treat DSA and development as two different, separate paths. I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
not, even though I have not been like a very strong CP kind of person, but I would not
Mm-hmm.
say that don't do DSA, because that is necessary
Mm-hmm.
at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Irrespective of what you say or what you do. For example, if you're targeting MNCs at least, right? And especially if you're starting out and you don't know which side you want to go, then you should probably
Mm-hmm.
not straight away cut something out, because
Yeah.
if I'm in my first year, or if anybody is in the first year, for example, and
Yeah.
they don't know if they like development, they don't know if they want to go to a startup, or if they don't know if they want to go to an MNC or whatever, then I
Yeah.
feel like trying out different things is just fine. After a certain point, if
Mhm.
you do try out development and you feel like, oh, I'm really comfortable and good with AI, and I'm actually finding great traction in this as well, and
Yeah.
I want to dedicate more time working to AI since this is working out better for me, then it's great for
Yeah.
you. I feel like you should then probably take that up, right? But in the
Yeah.
very start, you should probably do some DSA. You should keep that at least in mind as well. And as for
Yeah. Yeah.
AI as the development side of track, as I said, DSA is one thing. For the development side of track, I can say that yeah, you should probably pursue AI.
Yeah.
Ideally, if you're in college or you're asking this out of for a college grad question, I feel like especially something that I recommend to a lot of my college juniors as well, is that
Mhm.
for the first 2 3 years, whatever, right?
Mhm.
It's a 4 year degree. For the three
Yeah.
years at least, you can probably look into development. The first year you can give to language basics and stuff. Then
Yeah.
second and third year you can probably give into development. In two
Mhm.
years of time, 2 years is a very good amount of time to figure out if this is working out for you or not. And in two
Yeah.
years you can actually probably try everything. That is something I say. I don't want you or anybody
Mhm.
to go to a specific domain just because I said that AI is great because it worked out
Yeah.
for me. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody loves web dev, somebody's really good at apps, somebody's really good at web 3.
Yeah.
So they should probably try everything before they go pick a field. And if
Yeah.
nothing is working out for you, and you feel like you're good at problem solving, and that's the kind of thing that you really want to do, then
Mm.
still after, like, probably in the summer breaks of third year and stuff, once you have your
Yeah.
language basics done right, I feel
Yeah.
like picking up DSA is not that big of a deal. You can pick up a
Yeah.
sheet and you can really master it, and I've seen a lot of my batchmates do the same, and they're in good places right now. So I feel like
Mm.
that's like a good path. So I feel like that's
Awesome.
probably that.
Okay, that is cool. So basically, like not just limit yourself and not just do things just because someone is saying or just because the trend is going on there. So give yourself time and
Yeah.
explore the options. And if you really think that AI for you, then probably it's natural for you to follow it and also have the fundamentals like DSA and development because like I have observed that even though we are hired for a AI engineer role, we also have to do development related work as well, especially the backend in most cases. So when I was working at Turbo ML, the most part was backend and very less part was related to AI, I think. So so I also think that we should also have a good fundamentals of backend like when we come go to for AI and ML as well. So that is really awesome, and I would take that advice from you that, and I will tell people that give yourself options, try to explore in those 4 years and not just do it because Sambhav is doing it. Another question asked by someone that should one prioritize deeply understanding the math behind AI, or it is okay to start by using models as tools to build things?
My take on learning in general in terms of AI has
Yeah.
always been like I'm a builder first kind of approach. As I said, my
Yeah.
starting
Yeah.
to AI also has been like a builder first approach.
Yeah.
So I always appreciate building stuff. However, I after a certain point I'd say that just black boxing things doesn't really do stuff for you. Especially that is more so in AI. I feel like, for
Yeah.
example, in LLMs in particular, the most that you can do to a certain extent by just black boxing things is, if you're
Yeah.
doing that, you'll probably do very fine just calling LLMs, prompt
Yeah.
engineering and stuff. But after a certain point, there you'll stagnate because you really need to understand what is going under the hood. So
Hmm.
rather than doing that kind of mistake, that you going to a point and then coming back and then uh,
Yeah.
reiterating on that entire stance, I feel like you could have a decent amount of balance between mathematics and the
Hmm.
theoretical implementation side of things. I would say
Hmm.
build stuff. That's the best way to do anything. And when you're building, at least get a very good basic idea of the mathematics under the hood. I don't expect anybody to understand the full mathematics in the very first go. For example, when I started learning LLMs, I had a good basic understanding of what attention was and how
Hmm.
attention worked. But
Hmm.
and some basic idea about the mathematics behind the same. But I do not claim that I had like a perfect 100 on 100 understanding on how
Yeah.
the mathematics worked out all fine. But over multiple iterations and multiple reads and rereads, I did tend to build a good decent enough understanding to say, okay, now I understand the mathematics of attention. Probably if I had to
Hmm.
implement this from scratch, I will do it. And then
Oh.
sometime down the road, you might actually be sitting down and you realize, oh, hey, I have some time, I might just code this from scratch. And
Yeah.
once you do implement that from by your own hand, you'll realize, oh, I now know the mathematics behind this, otherwise I really would not have been able to do this the way I did. So
Yeah.
it's not like a one shot process. Don't do it that way, otherwise it'll take like multiple years for you to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it in multiple shots and you'll get the chance to do that.
It is great idea to also build things at the same time while managing your theories because see, I mean, as much as I know, like understanding the fundamentals are also important if we have to go into the core AI ML, not the generative one.
Yeah.
One more question that is related to it, and so for someone who is aiming for applied AI, how important it is to learn classic machine learning before diving deep into learning model LLMs, and is skipping the fundamentals is a viable strategy?
I would never recommend anybody to skip. Since I said, see, you have a good amount of time for any of these. In fact, if for most of the people who like even my college juniors and stuff who actually ask me like how the roadmaps and stuff, I
Yeah.
actually start them from assuming they know Python. I start
Yeah.
them from data science and like working with data and stuff. And most
Hmm.
people do ask me that, this is very far away from the LLM and generative AI and all
Yeah.
the gleam and shine of the AI bubble. But in
Yeah.
reality, you really can't really skip all that parts, because
Yeah.
if you do that, you're leaving the fundamentals really weak. You will eventually build upon the fundamental you will build upon the fundamentals only in the end of the day. Because if you really don't know how to, for example, if you don't know how to iterate with data or work with data, there will be a time where that will hit you hard. And the same, once you learn how to work with data, then you need to understand classical machine learning to not just understand know the methods as such, but understand where we actually came from to this particular point of time. That entire train,
Hmm.
test, validation, split, all those fundamentals and foundations, if you just learn them straight out while like doing some generative AI stuff, you really
Yeah.
don't know where that came from. That entire trajectory, that path is important, the journey is really important. Because
Yeah.
it's you should really not just look at the goal. Because in tech, or particularly in AI, I feel that tip of the iceberg always keeps going up and up and up every
Yeah.
single day. There's a new
Yeah.
model, then there is a new technique that came out. You really just need to keep up with all the new and brewing updates that keep coming in AI. But if you really don't know
Yeah. True.
anything under the hood, then you're just reading the papers and you're reading English. You don't
Uh,
really know what they're doing in the first place. So
yeah.
there's no real point
That is
in
correct.
skipping the fundamentals. Never do that. You'll get there eventually.
Okay, okay, that is correct. That is correct, and that is insightful. Lots of people, just because of the hype and just because they don't want to invest that much of time, so they just try to skip the fundamentals, and later on they realize that it is not going to take them anywhere. So it is a great advice from Sambhav that always have the fundamentals first. One more interesting question, that is, if you have to, like, let's say, learn AI and ML that you know right now in one single year, so how would that path look like? So what kind of plan do you have if you have to learn it in 1 year? I know that this question may not be very like good enough, but someone has asked it, so I'm also curious, is it possible in 1 year or not?
See, you could try to speed run it. Obviously, there will be huge holes in the
Yeah.
quality of stuff
Yeah.
that you would do. But if I really
Yeah.
had to do it, like it was something that I really just need to do, assuming I know Python as a basic language, or I know some language, okay, at the start of a year,
Yeah.
if I really plan this like year on year basis, okay, I know a language, like I start out with some basic data science, right? I
Yeah.
always do that. It'll probably take me like, I'm really pulling through. I'll probably take 2 to 3 weeks to build some theoretical knowledge of data science, and then dig out some projects about data science and do the same. As for
Mhm.
what projects I would do, one or two projects would be probably very like classical projects about some EDA and stuff. But most of my projects that I would really pick would be stuff that would relate to some real life problems that I'm facing. For example, again,
Mhm.
probably a game that I'm playing, I try to scrape some data out of the web and then
Yeah.
do some EDA whether I should invest a resource in a certain character or not, right? That could be a good project. Or probably some sort of Spotify wrapped for my own self, or
Yeah. Yeah.
something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, this is all ideas top of my head. I don't know how much of these ideas are actually possible based on
Mhm.
if those things allow web scraping or not. So
Yeah.
again, that's
Yeah.
something that you will find once you start building them. But that's also a
Yeah.
learning. I don't treat that as a negative thing. If
Yeah.
something does not work out, I'll still count it as something that I learned, that oh, this did not work out.
Yeah.
So still, that would take like 2 to 3 weeks. I'll probably have some good projects under my belt and some good understanding. I would
Hmm.
recommend anybody to spend at least 1 to 2 weeks on
Hmm.
a lot of these cloud operations with data as well.
Mhm.
For like how to build pipelines on the cloud and actually do this scalably. Because a lot of people, after the data science, data analytics step, they just skip to ML. but understanding how to use these resources on the cloud, building pipelines, and actually doing this scalably so that
Mhm.
you can have some sort of an analysis running 24/7, it's really a superpower. Because by that point you don't just know data science, you know data science in a scalable way or form that can
Yeah.
actually be used. Probably some sort of an Uber pipeline data analysis or something like that. You can probably find that somewhere on the web. But
Mhm.
that would be the end of my first 1.5 months of the year. Post that, I would really move to some machine learning, classical machine learning, right? That
Mhm.
I would expect or anticipate to take again the theoretical knowledge and building some projects. Again, most of these projects would probably be troll projects. For example, I
Yeah.
was seeing a lot of people recently in the F1 season building predictive models on whether Verstappen would win
Yeah.
or not. Sadly, he did
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that would be like a very fun project if you're really learning machine learning and you're trying different algorithms and gathering your own data and finding out whether Verstappen wins or not. I don't care if the algorithm's predictions were right or wrong,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like sheer fact that you're doing that is a win in itself, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that could take some time, but then you could move to some deep learning. Again, I would anticipate that to take 2 months more. Again, you could
Mhm.
probably reuse the same projects that you did with classical and implement them
Mhm.
in deep learning, and find that your find and replace of classical versus deep, how did that fare out, where classical was
Mhm.
better, where deep was better. That would also give you some
Mhm.
idea about how long it takes to work with both of these and whether what the trade-off is. And that I feel like that will help you in the long run, because when you come down to some corporates or stuff and you get a project, you know how long that project needs to take, how long inference for that project needs to take, and a lot of
Yeah.
other things. And you would
Yeah.
already know how long the building side of things and how long the inference side of things would fare out for a deep neural network versus a classical neural network. That's some insight that you
Mhm.
won't get if you do two completely different projects for those two. So
Yeah.
probably 1 or 2 months for deep for DL as well. I would give some time to reinforcement learning. I created a lot of
Mhm.
troll projects. For example, I
Yeah.
automated a couple of games, teaching my computer to play them. It was not a pleasant experience for my device, but I enjoyed it nevertheless. So, in troll
Okay.
projects all the way, as long as you are enjoying building something, I guarantee you, you
Yeah.
will learn something out of it. It does not matter if the project fails or passes. Having fun is the most important thing while learning. You
Yeah.
will definitely learn something if you are having fun with it. I can guarantee that.
Yeah.
So reinforcement learning takes 1 2 months more, and then
Mhm.
whatever remaining time is there, you need to do some NLP, of course, because I feel like a lot of people skip NLP these days and skip
Yeah.
straight to generative AI.
Yeah.
You need to do some NLP, of course. And post NLP, you can either, if you really have the time still, you can either
Mhm.
give some time to computer vision side of things, because
Yeah.
that's a relatively, I feel like a little uncharted area. A lot of people don't really explore computer vision all that much. And
Mhm.
since the AI boom right now is a lot towards the LLM side rather than the computer vision side, even though I'm
Yeah.
strongly bullish that the next revolution will probably be in the vision side of things,
Yeah.
because that's the obvious progression for AI. But
Yeah.
right, a lot of people skip to LLM side. So if you're not on a crunch or time, you can probably look at computer vision. It's still learning, so you're going to enjoy it nevertheless. But if you're really on crunch time, you can move to LLMs, and then the rest of the time you can give to LLMs, exploring how they work, fine tuning. If you're
Mhm.
just for applied AI, and again you're on a crunch time, you could probably think into skipping a little bit of the under the hood mathematics. But
Mhm.
again, it's strongly not recommended. I always push a little bit on the fundamentals. I get a little fishy
Yeah.
when people say, "Hey, I've not done the fundamentals," so it's like a little bit backside for me.
Yeah. Okay, so that is awesome. And to be honest, I learned a lot from this as well. So basically, we should be building projects on when we are learning. Like even though we are not getting too much of attention from that project, but still just do it for the sake of, or you can just prank your friends. Like you can just enjoy it the way you want. So that is really awesome. Okay, so speaking of projects, so how do you think that someone can build a great portfolio of work in AI/ML? So when it comes to like there can be a one way to contribute to open source. So is there any other way as well? Like someone can really show that what kind of they did some really effective work. So what can be the ways to build a very strong portfolio as you do have?
So I feel like there's a lot of it largely depends on the skill set and the kind of things that you've
Yeah.
already done to show in the portfolio, of course. So either you have like a very strong open source contribution or set of contributions. That's like something that's already public, so you don't really need to struggle. All you need to do is just put that in the right way and people can see that.
Yeah.
Other way for AI is I have a couple of good friends who are really good at AI, and what they do is they read research papers and then they implement those, and that's become their portfolio over time. So even the smallest bit of things now they can tell to people that every time a research paper comes up, we implement that so that people can use that. That's
Hmm.
another way. If you're really strictly sticking to applied AI, then again you can have some sort of creative products or projects. You can probably especially in applied AI, you can probably use your skills to assist a lot of the companies that are coming in and out, because every single one of these companies has one or a different problem that they could
Yeah.
probably ease or access with AI. For example, and these are all again very practical things that you face in your day-to-day life. A random
Yeah.
example is some time ago I was me and my roommate were sitting in the middle of the night, and we were really confused what to order from Zomato,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
Zomato did not have a voice assistant. So we
Yeah.
decided that we should just I decided I should just create a voice assistant on my own. So
Hmm.
like probably just a browser plugin calling like a AI agent of some sorts assisting you to that is scraping the Zomato website and stuff. But
Yeah.
these are things that are practical implications for companies. Once you do a lot of these
Yeah.
things as well,
Yeah.
you will find that probably that is also appeasing to potential employers that this guy just does not know his stuff. He's also creative enough and he's able to integrate his skills into real life things that our customers
Hmm.
might face. I mean, this guy is our customer. He's clearly facing it. He's solving it. That's another way. The last way is obviously you can build some projects and create them on a website portfolio of sorts. That also gives you equal amount of visibility. But again, in my way of thought, the way I see things, I always like to do stuff that could actually impact some lives, that could actually bring some impact in real
Yeah.
senses. That's the
Yeah.
most impactful, because if I know something and I am able to use my knowledge for some other organization, even
Yeah.
though I'm not directly working with them, and it's actually bringing some impact, that means that I'm actually putting my skills to a good use.
Awesome. So basically, just try to be as impactful as possible instead of like all the time chasing the wrong parameters. Chase the real work. Unfortunately, there are people who end up chasing certifications. So all they have are the certificates. So as you might, yeah, as you all are already aware of this thing that whenever you open like a LinkedIn, you will find people bragging about their certificates. So again, I'm not saying they are useless, but I think the work that you do that is impactful for anyone, irrespective of the scale. So that is way greater than the certifications and something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we are moving away from the times where certifications were like really looked forward to, and people are actually now realizing that the true value of work is in the work itself. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's something that you'll find easier to market now rather than the certifications that you get online.
That is correct. So, also one more part of AI is research. So, we talked a lot about applied AI. So, one more question I have is that let's say if someone want to get their first research internship in AI ML, so how much knowledge of AI and ML they should have, or like any other thing that matters as well, like CGPA or something like that. So, what do you think on this?
I do agree that a lot of the professors and this academia side of things
Mhm.
do actually prefer having strong academic records. Obviously, if you're
Yeah.
aiming for internships in some Ivy Leagues or some other
Hmm.
really high institutions, they would really want you to also back your claims by some strong academic evidence. So that is
Hmm.
obviously one thing. Uh, there is really no substitute for that there. If you, I feel like if you don't have that, some parts of it could be substantiated by some strong open source work or stuff, because I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of these organizations and stuff, if you don't have a strong academic backing, they could probably pass that on if you have worked with somebody who has a strong academic backing or could vouch for you. Again, open source could probably provide you with a good platform, not just in terms of work, but also in
Hmm.
terms of people who could probably put a good word for you, saying that uh, some guy XYZ has worked with me strong enough, and if that guy
Yeah.
has a good credential himself, then that goes on to say that you actually have some weight in your claims. But
Mm.
apart from that, if as long as you're not picky about the institutions that you're trying for, and you just really want a good research intern, I feel like a lot of people who in my circle are doing research interns, the
Hmm.
only things that they needed were like a good grasp on fundamentals, because
Hmm.
many of the professors, the entire rounds that they had for these interviews and the interns that they got were
Hmm.
largely based on core stuff that's purely fundamental. You can't
Hmm.
really skim through a lot of those things. Again, it comes down to the mathematics, or some guys working in LLMs is really mathematical stuff.
Yeah.
Some of them are doing stuff in these classical machine in deep neural networks. So they were asked really good questions about the understanding of how neural networks work to the very core. Theories like Hebbian theory, and building on the theories of how neural networks came into being. So you really do need to know your stuff before trying for these research interns. But
Hmm.
again, as long as you have your financial fundamentals sorted, and
Yeah.
it's very clear to you what you're doing and why you're doing it in the first place, I feel like that's pretty much all that's required in terms of your skill set. That's it.
Hmm.
Other than that, it's
Hmm.
just paperwork that you need to show. Again, that's
Okay.
assuming you're trying for something.
Okay, awesome. So basically, it is always a good idea to have a strong academics, and that AI knowledge is also like it is a must, obviously. But having good academics can lead you to some good institutions, like popular institutions, and it is sometimes a plus point in like traditional jobs as well. They look at this guy has been a topper since the childhood, and I think they have a good impression on it.
Yeah, it shows at the end of the day. It doesn't hurt if you're doing something really,
Yeah.
if you're doing anything you're doing good. It may or may
Yeah.
not be related to your field, but if you're good at something, that goes on to show at least qualities of discipline or talent, or
Yeah.
indicative of that the person is actually doing something with their life. So it doesn't hurt. Academics is obviously very core.
Yeah, that is awesome. Okay, so as you said that we like academics and plus the AI knowledge. So there is one more thing. These days, like the AI is moving too fast. There is new framework is coming on. There is something new is getting launched by someone, and even the unexpected things things happening very recently. Zoom, that is basically a videos like video conferencing software, has launched a model. I just heard about it. So, in this fast-paced environment, how do you just keep yourself updated with all of the innovation, and how you are there any particular resources that you follow, and just to keep updated with the whatever is happening in the ecosystem?
So I feel like Twitter does a large part to this, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, if you're really like active on Twitter,
Yeah.
and you have a good network, a lot of
Yeah.
people do end up posting stuff, and you really do find out a lot of stuff about that. On the surface level, it does keep you updated, but I
Mhm.
particularly feel that since I have a knack for going a little deep into things, and obviously I don't really find the time for managing reading research papers during
Yeah.
the week, because there's office stuff, and then there is my open source stuff that I need to do a
Yeah.
lot part of it. I usually set apart some time on my weekends to do some reading. I try to cover at least 1 to 2 either research papers or some really good documents that have really done some awesome work in the AI field, or either catch me up, or if something really new or really interesting research paper has not come up, then I really
Yeah.
try to read some old research paper that have some good impact. I was recently caught up reading for the past 3 weeks. I feel I've been
Hmm.
reading that small training playbook by Hugging Face, then that ultra
Yeah.
scale training playbook by Hugging Face. So these playbooks are really awesome, but they really keep you up to date and keep you on the paces, and they teach you a lot. So that's something that again brings me to the same cycle next week.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, Twitter and plus whatever the new blogs launched by the companies. So do you read blogs as well, like the of the companies, like frontier companies, for example, Mistral or OpenAI. So they also publish their blogs. So do you read them as well?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I like reading. For example, I specifically write like how Claude sometimes publishes a lot of docs on. For example,
Yeah.
recently they published some docs on prompt fine tuning or something like that. They have a particularly good style of writing, and I really like that for a casual weekend read.
Awesome, awesome. I also read it whenever I get time. And the last blog was related to how Discord is scaled to billions of messages. So that was pretty awesome. And also, I read one more related to Snowflake IDs, how Twitter creates Snowflake IDs so that there is a very next to zero chances of having conflicts between those IDs. They use timestamps and something like this. So, speaking of the recent trends and the technologies, very recently, Ilya has, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly or not. So, he said that in a meeting, I guess, that we are at the dead end of the LLMs. So, probably because there is no innovation in LLMs vertically. There can be horizontally, but vertically, there is no innovation in case of LLMs. So, how do you think that, will the agents will be the next phase, or what do you think about this?
I saw that entire podcast. I do
Yeah,
see a lot of those podcasts
yeah,
and say that that's my guilty pleasure of sorts. So I really like that. And one thing I agree with, I think before that, Rich Certain, again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name correct,
yeah,
also said something similar in his podcast. And one thing I agree is the current state of LLMs is a lot of these frontier labs. I feel like they are heading towards sort of a benchmarking of LLMs, where they're
yeah,
just targeting newer, every single new LLM is more of becoming a new benchmark for the SWE bench rather than
yeah,
something really innovative happening. For example,
yeah,
and that's to be expected, to be honest, because I remember there was a phase in the past 1.5 2 years where DeepSeek came out with the
yeah,
GRPO,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
GPT came out with their own reasoning models. And that was a step up, not just in terms of benchmarks, which I don't
Yeah.
care about all that much. To me, it's more about how the LLMs are progressing, how the tech is progressing in terms of the core tech, not just in terms of adding
Mhm,
more hardware or
mhm.
bringing more mixtures of experts or fine tuning it or some sorts. So, in
Yeah.
those senses, I can agree that while LLMs are progressing, the direction of which at which they are progressing is different from how it was previously. In terms of where this entire thing is going, I feel like it could be one of two things, because in the next 6 months or an year, and this is all again anticipation purely on everyone's
Mhm,
part, but based on where this is going, either we could reach a point where incremental differences between LLMs in terms of the leaderboard scores become so
mhm,
low that the frontier labs decide to head somewhere else, because right now I think
mm.
it's progressing towards LLM solving the SWE bench.
Yeah,
Once it's
yeah.
solved, then they probably they come up with some new metric, or they realize that
Mhm,
there is some other side or some other domain to be explored. At that point, it could go in one of two ways. One is I could probably see an inclination. This is probably personal bias, but I could
yeah.
probably see an inclination towards computer vision side of things, because
Mm, mm.
I feel like AI, the core concept of how we visualize AI is like the intelligence on the whole. right?
Yeah.
We have a very key part of it in the current AI boom, that the machine now actually, the systems actually now understand a large part of the context, interpret it, have
Yeah.
a knowledge base, and
Mhm.
then use that accordingly to answer things perfectly. So that's a key part of
Mm.
intelligence. Now I feel like if we actually need to progress towards like a proper AI, what people visualize as AGI of sorts, is
Yeah.
probably going towards either including some sort of vision elements, like a real
Mhm.
proper advancement in vision where the model can actually see stuff and
Yeah.
understand the visual parts of things. Either that, it could be where AI gets proper or advanced tooling so that it can actually interact with the environment, not just in terms of basic tooling, but in terms
Yeah.
of it actually doing the same sort of actions that humans do. For example,
Mhm.
I worked a little bit on computer use agents, and I was
Mhm.
quite intrigued by how AI actually used my own hardware, the mouse and the keyboards and everything, to perform actions that I would perform. But obviously, it's in a very rudimentary phase right now, and it requires a lot of tokens, and there's a lot of different problems. But assuming
Mhm.
somebody actually decides to tackle them, and this becomes like a next big thing, then that could
Mhm.
be thing. So the other part of things is either it's vision or really advanced agents that can actually do end-to-end work, not just like pieces of work along the way.
Mhm.
So those are two things that I see across, assuming that the progress in LLMs eventually ends up stagnating, which is something we'll
Mhm.
find out in the next 6 months to a year, I guess.
So I've also like observed this thing that many AI researchers, pretty popular AI researchers, and they believe that probably that's the plateau that we have achieved in terms of LLMs, and the next phase may not be going to a underlying architecture like that attention architecture. So it may be related to something else, like not the newer type of model, but probably newer type of use case of that model. And one of such use case is agents as of now. And okay, so speaking of the like next phase, do you think that there is anything else other than agents that could become big, like agents and CV, computer vision? Is there anything else that could that is not getting much attention as of now, but it can become big in future, and it has the potential to do so? So do you think about any of the things like that?
There's a lot of things I feel like are under touched at the moment for
Hmm.
like in particular, and these are things that even I don't have all that much experience working with. For example, I feel like voice AI at the moment is a very static and AI untouched field. For example, at
Yeah.
the moment, voice is just the work that people do in voice is just catering to supplying the voice to the tokens that AI generates. But AI
Hmm.
itself has not impacted the audio generation all that much yet at the very
Yeah.
core levels of it. It's just some voice samples that people already have, and it's the voice that is the voice that is being voiced to the tokens generated by AI. So that could be one thing. Robotics is a very vast field, so it's very hard
Yeah.
to comment on how AI would impact that. But it's like an obvious progression for AI to go there, because from all the people that I've talked to, I feel like one thing that everybody unanimously agrees is that if AI is actually going to do some proper real world impact, it is only going to come when AI actually gets to interact with real world systems, not just
Hmm.
not just in a simulated way, but probably in the most realistic ways possible. And this
Yeah.
is something we've historically seen. I could like that robot dog by named Spot
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
that learned to walk. But a lot of these things, these are actual implementations of AI learning from real world examples. Obviously, this is also like a huge amount. It takes a huge amount of resources, and it's like a huge
Yeah.
commitment in every single terms. But I feel
Yeah.
like once we are cross this current LLM boom of sorts, and our frontier labs have a lot of
Mhm. Yeah.
time and a lot of resources on their hands,
Yeah.
they could probably push their efforts in that side.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like Elon Musk has some sort of a robot kind of thing
Yeah.
that's come out, right?
Yes, they have. I don't know what is the name. It's not Opus, I guess. So I forgot the name, but they had an interesting like vision that in future we will have the robots. So very recently, I think you already know it. So there was a company that launched their first robot to be used in homes. So I forgot the name,
Yes.
so I don't know what was their name, but I will attach in a screenshot. So also these days there are many companies who are doing AI plus something hardware. So you also may have heard about
Yeah.
there was a locket kind of thing. So that was called Friends, I guess. So it would attach. You can just wear it in your neck, around your neck, and you can just talk to it in a real time, and it can do things for you like schedule a meeting or something like this. And also there is a Pocket. What is his name? I think Akshay. He is. We are connected on Twitter, so he is also building that kind of thing. So that is more of a hardware plus AI. So what are your comments on this? Like, do you think because these kind of products get traction very quickly, they get popular very in just a matter of days, but I have seen the failure rate in such kind of startups currently is very high. I have seen a lots of such products getting failed within 1 year because for one example can be that Friends locket. So what do you think? Like, will such kind of products will work in the future, or there will be something, or it is just an experimentation?
So I feel like if we look at the core cause of why they fail, we'll also be able to understand how such products could actually pass or work out
Mm-hmm.
fine. I feel like, for example, some time ago, one of my friends bought some earbuds. I don't remember what they were, but they had some AI features in it, right? And I feel like a lot of these things are actually the reason why they work or don't work is because of the functionality that they provide. I mean,
Yeah.
ideally, they are aimed to give you quick access to AI. But for me, perhaps as a person, if I am buying some one of these products, it comes down to a trade-off between utility versus functionality. For
Yeah.
example, let's say I buy some AI product and I ask it to do some stuff for me. For example, I ask it some knowledge, some random GK question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that thing takes 5 to 10 seconds and then comes back to me probably with the right answer, probably with an incorrect answer. I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that if it comes up, even if it comes up with the right answer and it's taking that amount of time, x amount of time, to me in my head, I would be much easier just picking up my phone and asking the same thing to ChatGPT app on the phone out there, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody has their phones out these days. So a lot
Yeah.
of these things is dependent on what functionality that these AI tools provide, and
Mm-hmm.
how well they provide them. If this is something that they're consistently doing and they're doing it right, then
Yeah.
it could be worth my time as a consumer, especially since I have a knack for AI research side of things. I look at things
Yeah.
that way. It would be worth my time to keep that thing around me. But if it's simply the same thing with 2 or 3 more seconds, and the same thing can be done with my phone, which I know I will have with me 24/7, I
Mm-hmm.
might not consider opting for the same product. So I feel like
Mm.
that is the ledge there. Most of these tech companies that are trying to put AI into a hardware product need to come up with a ledge where they can say that, okay, this is what we are doing, this is how
Mm-hmm.
AI helps you, and this is the reason why this same thing can't be done with your mobile phone for whatever reason. For example, I don't know if the Pocket does this because I'm not fully familiar with its
Yeah.
functionality, but I was seeing some early demos of some products where, like some AI pin of some sorts, which would basically see for you and then answer things for you on the same basis.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I got the, for me, that made a little bit sense in terms of the
Yeah.
core idea of the product, because I could say, okay, I take out my phone, I click a photo, then I go
Yeah.
to Chat GPT, I upload the photo, I ask it, hey, what is this? GPT takes 5 seconds and come back to me. Rather than that, I can just click the pin and it comes back to me. Okay, this is a
Yeah.
valuable product. But if I am just having a some sort of a device, let's say a pen that has AI,
Yeah.
and I click the pen and I say, hey, who's the prime minister of India? I could just do the same thing my phone. Why would I buy a
Yeah.
pen for that? So, this- that's the less that they need to do.
That is true. And
Yeah.
that AI pin, I still like, just forgot the name. Like the time it was launched, so it got lots of views, right? As you can remember. And
Yeah.
like also it got highly memed. People said a lot of things about it. Some said AI dildo, some said like some sort of pin that we will not do use it. So there were lots of memes on that as well. But that was awesome, I
Exactly.
guess. It
That's what
was.
I'm saying. Na. The ideation of it was like the problem statement that they hit, that had like an impact, at least saying that okay, in my head it made sense why somebody would
Yeah.
do it. For there could be n amount of reasons behind that, but the
Yeah.
cost, or how I would wear it, or if it is durable or not, or whatever. If it looks weird, then probably I won't be using it all that much,
Yeah.
right? But that's all a very secondary problem to me. In my head, the very first thing while I look at any of these products that come out in the market is this something that will replace AI on my phone? If it is not,
Yeah.
then it is not going to be viable enough for me. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. That is a thumb rule that if it's not going to replace the AI in my phone, then it is not worth it. That is correct, I guess. So there are lots of things we discussed related to AI research, and so the community has asked some questions related to your approach, like how do you approach some particular scenarios, like be it learning something. So the first thing they asked, that is like if you are given a task to understand ChatGPT from the very basic, like from bottom to top, like from how does it run on the hardware, from the like how the user get interact to it. So how would you approach that? How would
Hmm.
you learn it? What would be the steps that you would follow in order to learn that thing in deeply?
In terms of how I go about it, assuming I have decent amount of time, what I usually like to do is understand the origins of the project before I actually dive into the implementations of it.
Yeah.
For example, I would probably look into who was building this, and if they have some research papers that they build this on. Like if this is public, then obviously they might have used some research papers. Have they referenced some work? You do some if anybody does some research, they'll definitely find some amount of work behind it, even if it is
Hmm.
closed source. You can probably guess or assume, probably even if it's if they actually have some good public documentation, they're specifically
Hmm.
saying themselves that this is the research paper we followed. It's great, awesome, you now know what they did under the hood. Otherwise, on social media you can obviously find a lot of people pointing you to things that they could have used. And
Yeah. Yeah.
if you have some basic understanding of the underlying object at hand, you will know that okay, this is something that they might have used, this is something you have a strong confidence they might have used, this is something
Hmm.
that you are pretty sure that they would not have used. And going through a little bit of that would give you some idea over the
Yeah.
basic cream that you can gather
Yeah.
on how they started doing that. Once you have that in mind, you can, if I have to just understand the implementation side of things for that, once I have a like basic fundamentals for it and I have access to the product at hand, I would probably like to go a little and play with the product a bit. That
Hmm.
also, once you know some things about the product
Hmm.
and then you interact with it, I feel like it gives you a different perspective on the product as it would just going interacting with it with the for the very first time. And
Hmm.
with that difference in mind, you actually realize how much of your hype, because once you've read through a lot of stuff, you
Hmm.
do end up building some amount of hypothesis or some amount of things that you feel like this might be something that might be going under the hood. And once you
Hmm.
then interact with the product, you feel like you get a better understanding of at least some things are validated, other things are not, but you get a very cold idea of where things are going. And
Hmm.
that way, once you're done with that, you now have some hypotheses that you know that are
Yeah.
for fact true, some things that you know for a fact that are false, and other things that you may have less or more confidence on whether they work or don't work. And once
Hmm.
you have all of these things in mind, then you can probably hurdle on however you want to use that knowledge.
Awesome. So also like do you also like other than just diving into it, would you also implement it like just the scrappy version of it and try to like code it at least?
Think I would absolutely do. In fact, even probably in between my hypotheses, every single time I'm going out there and I'm testing on the product, before
Hmm.
I would actually write a scrappy version myself, so that I could know that, okay, I thought of this, I thought that it would involve this. This is what my scrappy version of this does, and this is what the actual thing does. If they have the same kind of behavior, then that's a strong validation that this is probably doing the same thing under the hood. And if not,
Hmm.
then probably there's a difference, so that's lesser
Hmm.
validation there.
Got it. Got it. So, okay. So, speaking of understanding things and reading and implementing things related to AI, for example, ChatGPT. So, how does the daily job of an AI researcher look like? Also, one more thing, how different it is from ML ops specialist. For example, there is AI researcher and there is ML ops specialist. So, do they have the different jobs, or how does their routine varies?
The core difference that I feel that comes in the two is the see, both have a goal or an objective that they need to attain,
Yeah.
but the difference is, for the researcher, it's more of an open-ended question than a fixed pipeline or a task at hand. Because
Mhm.
when you're if you're doing AI research, you know a problem statement at hand that kind of indicates what the final goal or final objective needs to be. You don't know anything in the middle. And
Yeah.
to be honest, many times the problem statement as it is handed to you, even the person handing it to you does not necessarily know the answer to the problem. And that's totally
Mhm.
fine, because that's the nature of research. You need to understand, you need to experiment on how the particular problem will be most efficiently tackled with AI, right? The person handing you the problem could have better idea on some of the things, some of the issues that you would face down the road, but nobody really knows like a fixed path that would be applicable to solving that particular problem at hand. On
Mhm.
the contrary, in machine learning at the moment, for ML ops, for example,
Mhm.
it I feel like it's little more deterministic in terms of what the potential problem solutions could be, because there's
Mhm.
only like a fixed number of outcomes that you can see from a particular starting point in MLOps. Surely, the more experience you get in that field, the better you can choose your path or design your path to be more optimal to the final solution. But
Mhm.
it's not as undeterministic as it is in research, because for many problems that AI researchers face in their day-to-day line of work, there are many problems that can't be efficiently solved, or there are trade-offs which are not acceptable. For
Mhm.
example, you could come up with a solution that could either require an insane amount of hardware to do, or it could take you a huge amount of inference time that could not be feasible
Mhm.
for any problem, right?
Yeah.
So that would not be, so either cases you could not get like a acceptable solution in some cases, or you could have to then look into it, fine tune and optimize your solutions and work on that. But that's the thing, the core day to day work that you end up facing is undeterministic, in the senses that you
Mhm.
don't know to what extent you can push that particular solution that you are working with.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not the same with other side of things, especially for example, if you discard ML ops and you take the software domain side of problems in particular, for example,
Yeah.
they are extremely deterministic in nature. There's
Yeah.
a certain feature you need to implement. It could have, again, different problems that you have to face. You could have to
Yeah.
design architectures on which databases you need to pick, how you need to orchestrate a lot of things. But it does not have that certain sense of undeterminism where you don't know if this thing would even be possible. That's
Yeah.
the fun part in the everyday life of a AI researcher.
Yes. Yeah. I have heard about it a lot, and one of some I do have some other friends as well who are in AI research. So they do tell me that in AI research, you don't have something that you can see by the end of the tunnel. It's the never ending tunnel. So you cannot, in most cases, you can't see the end result. So you have to keep on working on that. Currently, if you develop a feature, let's say authentication, then you know by the end of the day there is going to be an authentication flow. Someone will be able to do that and do that, but that's not possible in AI research. So that is like awesome as well, but sometimes I think it may be frustrating because we may feel like we are not getting anywhere. Is it true?
It's true. I mean, one line I would like to say is that curiosity is the best guide for research most of the
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
Because as you said, I related with that statement of your friends that there is sometimes it's like an endless tunnel. But
yeah,
the thing that keeps you going is the curiosity, because every single day you go in and you come up with the new idea, new approach, you try it out, you test it out, you find out what worked, what didn't work on
yeah,
it, optimize it. And that really, while there is really no end to it,
yeah.
unless you come to a point and you realize, oh, this actually worked out perfectly fine for me.
Hmm.
But it's the unknown that actually drives you there. So it could
Yeah.
be a little frustrating, and many times it does become that, multiple experiment after experiment after experiment, things don't work out for you. But
Hmm.
again, that's the part of the nature of the work. Sometimes things work out perfectly fine, other times things don't. You just, again, as I said, as long as you take everything as a learning, rather it
Yeah.
works or it does not work. If you take everything as a learning for you, every single day will be a productive day for you. That is all that counts.
Okay. Okay. So basically, in that hopeless tunnel, probably curiosity is your light. So curiosity can lead you to the places where probably just going it out of without curiosity may not. And that is awesome, to be honest. And okay, so speaking of AI research, so what are you working on these days? Like, what you are you researching on right now?
So my work largely has been, in terms of the work that I'm doing. It's largely been understanding how a lot of these closed source models can be optimized to give better outputs on the whole. So that,
Hmm.
for example, when a user gives a certain prompt in any sort of way, the model basically receives the best kind of input, so that it is able to give the best kind of outputs. Because especially for non-technical users in any sort of form, the prompts that they give are very different from technical users. So that is one thing. Another part of the same problem is how we would evaluate the LLM's responses before
Hmm.
we display it to the user, so that we can be sure that the LLM is working fine. So some sort of a pre-eval to LLMs. But
Hmm.
and on my open source side of things, the more exciting thing that I feel like I'm doing at the moment is, so there is this framework called LoRa gradient optimization,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
LoRaga. So they are basically, it's a paper that somebody published some time ago, for how gradient approximation can be optimized, and
Hmm.
they ended up optimizing it 3 to 4 times. So
Hmm.
I am currently working on integrating that into PEFT, into Hugging Face.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's in the final stages of implementation right now. Once that is done, it actually opens up, it does two things. One, obviously, it speeds up the regular operations of PEFT in Hugging Face for almost everybody out there. And even if
Hmm.
that is one thing, the other thing is it opens up gateway for a lot of other LoRa implementations, for example, LoRa 1
Yeah.
and a lot of others. So I feel like that's the exciting research side of things that I'm working on as of recent.
Awesome. Awesome. So, one more thing, like as we talked a lot about CV, computer vision, and like the creative part of the AI. So, what do you think about this real-time video generation? Like, do you think that it can also be a great thing, and it can disrupt the current video making process? Because currently there are studios, very popular studios, and so can you do you think that the same thing can happen in video generation that happened in image generation at the time of that Ghibli art trend? So do you think that there can be a trend like
Yeah.
this for video?
Yeah, I feel like I'm very certain that that is eventually coming. So, and I feel like that has come to in existence to a certain point even now. I mean, you scroll Instagram, one of every 10 reels you'll
Yeah,
find comment saying that this is an
yeah,
AI generated reel.
yeah,
And
yeah,
right now it is easy to discriminate because of one of two reasons. Either it's like
yeah.
a completely impossible kind of reel that is happening with AI, or it's like some distortion or some pixelation, which is why people are figuring it out. But it has gotten to the point enough where one, it's mainstream, so people are actually using it. It's not that just tech people or like people inside the AI bubble are talking about it.
Yeah.
Everybody, even outside who's not necessarily into tech, now knows that AI is generating AI generated videos. So people are now actually talking about it. That speaks how technology is going mainstream. For me, like a rule of thumb that I interpret is, once people who are not in tech or not inside the bubble start talking about something that is that we consider inside the bubble, that is when we know that a technology is actually become mainstream. Same when the same thing happened for ChatGPT. I remember people
Yeah.
for my friends who are not related to tech or programming coming to me and telling me how there is this application which answers every single question you give it, like a better version of Google. It is
Yeah.
then that I knew, that was my moment for realization, because I had known GPT for a long time, especially for being GPT-2 being one thing.
Yeah.
So I had known GPT for a long time, but people coming and telling me that, oh, there is this thing, made me realize that, oh, this thing has actually broken out. And
Yeah.
we all know where AI
Yeah.
went up. So
Yeah.
I feel like now that people are talking about AI generated videos as a mainstream thing, and considering like every single video they're seeing with at least some sort of suspicion or
Yeah.
some sort of insight that, hey, this might be an AI generated video, we know that that is going somewhere. What still remains to happen is one of these mainstream media houses or something taking up these AI projects and generating something out of it. For all I know, even it is possible that probably the models are obviously getting better and better. So there
Yeah.
might be a point where this might become like, probably there's a lot of problems, or let's say token costs too high or whatever, which is why that's not happening right now. After, I feel like after a certain point where AI is probably mature enough, or probably it's still happening out there somewhere, I don't know, but it could be happening out there somewhere that somebody's built, some production house is building with some product with AI. In fact, if I remember correctly, I was recently seeing somewhere on Twitter recently that Amazon used AI to dub some anime
Yeah.
in some
Yeah.
different languages.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though it was not perfect, but it's happening.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's what I'm
happening.
saying, that these things, it's only eventually bound to happen. And sooner somebody hops on that train and adopts it, they'll be more successful with it. Because in
Yeah.
the AI race, one thing that I've understood in terms of corporates is the early bird gets the worm. Even
Yeah.
though a lot of other players have emerged today, but
Yeah.
OpenAI is still like a predominant market leader because they are the first
Yeah.
for that domain to hold
Yeah.
that bubble.
So, as you said that Amazon try to dub their anime in using AI. So, you may have heard about one more news, and that is the deal between Disney and OpenAI Sora model. So, basically, they are going to have they are going to introduce AI created videos to Disney apps and whatever they provide, so that they can more streamline towards AI. So very recently they had a I don't know $10 billion deal with OpenAI regarding that. So probably that's a good sign of AI video generation.
Disney is a good place to start. I mean, they have the right amount of experience, obviously.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
know how things are already created. So I feel like they could use it the best, if anything.
yeah.
And I feel like
Uh,
for on OpenAI's part as well, it's like a really smart decision now that I think of it, because they want to prove to the world that video generation is a thing. Disney
yeah,
is, I think, yeah, it's the best place to start, basically. I mean,
yeah.
the go-to place for kids for content. Yeah, I feel like they're doing it right.
Yeah, so I also think that it is a perfect match because see, one guy has the technology and the other guy has the distribution. So when we both bring on the same table, there is always a huge break, what we call it, like big innovation or something that change the things that were happening before that. There is, as we have seen, like there is a lot of progress in AI in all the aspects. It can be natural language, it can be voice, it can be image, it can be video generation as well. But there are also the new problems that are emerging in this AI market. For example, someone can create a fake identity cards, someone can create fake PAN cards, and also there are some fake videos are getting generated, some MMS are getting generated. And very recently there was a someone, I think a businessman, who got scammed by as AI voice that impersonated some of his relatives. So, how do you think we are going to navigate with these challenges, like that AI created challenges? Because the current systems are not going to handle that. Very recently, there was a post of a guy who just used a nano banana, and he showed that all of his eggs that he ordered were broken, and he got full refund. So, and there is no way to prove it. So, how do you think that we can tackle this?
See, one thing I would like to say is this points out that there is no alternative for human creativity. No amount of tech that you bring, any amount of tech that you bring, people will find some creative use out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is bound to happen. And I feel like on the one side of things, that's actually a good thing that you think of it. Because if people are being able to use tech in most creative ways, then irrespective of, I agree that a lot of these use cases are not ethical or good use cases, but that
Yeah,
goes on to show that this is a successful tech. I mean, internet was successful not just because it was able to share research paper across different colleges and universities. It
yeah,
became successful when people started building on it, not just good platforms, but when internet, like the dot-com bubble was in
yeah,
its full swing. I'm pretty sure there must have been tons of scam websites as well.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there must have been 100 different versions of Google out there.
yeah.
So I'm sure that if something is working fine, you'll have cheap copies of it, and there will be like fakes working or creativity.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of the way that we saw things evolve in the internet case, for example,
Hmm.
we eventually got to understand how phishing websites work. Our protocols got stronger so that fake websites or websites that are that contain that just download viruses in your system, they are
Yeah.
blocked by the browser itself. So eventually, I feel like the same technology gets advanced enough to actually stops its misuse. And even in case of AI, I feel like we have seen that over the rise.
Yeah.
I mean, when we started out with GPT used to give you all sorts of information. I mean,
Yeah.
starting off from being like everything, it allowed you to build harmful
Yeah.
substances, give you bad advice
Yeah.
or anything. But
Yeah.
now GPT has strong guardrails to the point that it stops all of that. OpenAI recently had this thing for red teaming of its new open source models. So I was
Hmm.
testing out their open source models on a lot of the things that you could or you could not do. And I
Hmm.
was very surprised and happy to see that even the smaller models, even though they're not particularly good like as compared to the SOTA models right now, but how far we've come from the early versions of GPT 3.5 that we had on the web. I'm sure
Yeah.
that GPT 3.5 had like 175 billion parameters or something.
Yeah.
But even the smaller model that they launched, the open source 20 billion parameter model, it has
Yeah.
better guardrails than the model that they had initially launched. Obviously, they
Hmm.
learned a lot across those 2 3 years, and I would be
Yeah.
disappointed if they didn't. But that's a mark of thing that they're now we are getting to the point where the models themselves know, the AI itself knows what is right and what is not to in terms of answering to the user. And I
Yeah.
feel going on forward, we will only get better on with that. And that's just one thing. That is answerability and reliability on the part of these what I like to call the intelligence providers, the models
Hmm.
themselves. But even apart from the models, as far because people don't just want to left shift all of that onto the
Yeah.
models themselves, people are actually coming up with their own solutions. For example, there is this new startup. I was listening to a TED talk by its founder. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Avoxery AI.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he was doing something in the reinvent recently. I was listening to
Mm-hmm.
some TED talks as well. So they are basically targeting for this phishing or deep fake kind of thing, avoiding people from good, like a software that avoids deep fakes or some sorts.
Mm-hmm.
They have some cool ideas in mind. They're building something around the same, and I feel like a lot of different startups have started inculcating one thing or the other for deep fakes or AI generated images. And in places, there are certain places where I'm seeing startups that earlier did not used to do this, but products now actually taking like three-dimensional head scans of your face
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
verify that you are actually the person and you're not impersonating somebody.
Yeah.
And I feel like going on, we will only keep improving on that. So that's another layer. That's two parts of solving the same
Mm-hmm.
problem. That's something that will eventually occur. By at a certain point, I feel we will be there where we'll feel that okay, this AI thing is now completely safe in terms of the fact that we already have protocols and things built in place that will necessarily stop this AI scamming
Mm-hmm.
or whatever is going on.
Okay, so
I feel like, yeah.
basically, as our systems will grow, AI will grow on the ethical part. The part of security with security of AI will also increase, like the guardrails, and there will be some other systems that will be in place to protect uses of AI, and they will not let some bunch of malicious people do the chaos. So, related to AI and like your career and how you started and how other people should start in AI. So, I would like to ask one more final question, and that is, what are your plans for the upcoming time? Where do you want to see yourself in the 5 years? Let's say in an in SF, or do you want to have your own AI lab or something like this? So where are you seeing yourself?
So that's a nice question. So, in a very long run, my core motivation for the work that I do is eventually I want to be working somewhere where my work is somewhat impacting like the core development of AI, like how LLMs are built is what I want to impact at the most. Right now, the work that I do is oriented towards using the LLMs in the best ways possible and using my
Mhm.
knowledge under the hood to make them do that. But eventually, I would want to be some place where I am the one who's building those LLMs in the first place. So that is something that I see in the long run. And I eventually want to get to a point where probably in the next 4 or 5 years, I want to be doing some research work good enough where I'm writing some great papers that have actual
Mhm.
some like real world impact on the way we developed AI. Probably something regarding AI safety or AI evals, or probably an effective or more efficient way to train AI. Probably something that has to do with how we can work with attention more efficiently, reducing its inference, its complexity, and a lot of other things that have been on my to-do list for some time now, and I'm eventually working towards that to tick a few boxes along the way. So yeah,
Oh,
that's what I see along the way.
okay, awesome. So basically, we are going to have a great AI engineer or a researcher in future, and so that is really awesome. And also, needless to say, you are going to provide that content and keep on posting about your work and all of that on Twitter as well, so that other people can get the benefit of that, and you can keep on get giving it back to the community, because that's how on Twitter we all learn, right? You write a blog and I read it, I do something and you use it. So that is a really great thing, and you are already doing it. So it's really fantastic. And you won't believe, but I posted about our podcast almost all the channels I have, including LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. So almost 80% of the questions, I would say 70 to 80% of the questions were from them. So they asked those questions, and some of the questions were mine, what I wanted to ask. And people were so like happy and curious to have a talk with an AI researcher, so that they can particularly know the question, answers of their questions. Because on the internet the information is available, but it is not specific, it is not a niche. It is either too generic to follow, or it is if it is like a niche, then it is very hard to articulate. It is in form of some research papers, or some deep buried inside some Google links, so that is why they are not able to access it. So I think I could help them in a way. Okay, so that was awesome. And so I asked a lots of questions to you. So if you have any questions for me, then please do the honor.
Well, my question for you, even though I've known you for some time now over text, is that where do you plan to go over the next 4 5 years? What are your aims and objectives? What do you want to do? Not just with this
uh,
channel in general. And this is this is a great thing you're doing. It's like totally awesome. You starting a YouTube channel. I love the way
yeah,
you've built the product as well. But like
yeah,
on the whole, in terms of career and in terms of everything, where do
yeah.
you, how are you going to take it in the next 4 5 years? What are you going to do? What do you see?
Okay, so the in terms of career, I currently am working on open source, and so my goal for the next 5 years would be to make the one platform that is only dedicated to open source. So basically, currently there is no consolidated platform for open source. So everything is scattered, right? There are some other platforms for open source events, for open source maintainers, and for open source contributors. So everything feels very scattered. There is not a single platform where that is a one stop solution for everything. Like I haven't thought much about business model, to be honest, but at least for myself I want to build a platform that is that is one stop solution for everyone related to open source. It can be open source companies, open source contributors, or open source maintainers. So that is my goal in the next 5 years to basically achieve and to build. And if I have to in terms of what I have to learn, then I'm really passionate for AI and obviously the vision part of the AI. So I am really passionate about it, and I did maths and I was good in maths, so it was that part was easy for me when I started learning AI. But because currently I'm focusing more on this open source thing and this channel thing, so I'm not able to give much time to AI. So but whenever I will give have the time, then I will for sure I'm going to get into this vision thing. I really love it, and I just want to do it. I mean, not for the sake of getting a job, but I just want to learn it for the sake of knowing it, and just knowing it, like what are the possibilities in it. So probably I could find something to work on over my over the next phase of my life. And if I have to, like, the personal goal, if I have to share, then that would be, my personal goals are very simple. I just want to have a decent lifestyle, and in most cases I want to live in my village in a very remote area. And there are many reasons. It is not very pollutive, it is peaceful, and it is also like, these are my goals. And that was really great to talk to you. And to be honest, I learned a lot of things, and I'm going to re-watch this video whenever I'm going to feel the need of guidance. Okay, so
You can just text me, bro. I'm always up for talk. And it's not guidance. I like chatting people. I like chatting with people. So it's always up. One thing I
okay.
was saying was, um, one thing I'm saying is, Ajit, you're doing like a awesome work because when I started doing open source, there was no such centralized platform. So I really
Yeah,
love
yeah,
the idea and the motivation that you have for this. And like you're
yeah,
really putting open source to spaces and you're giving us a platform and everything. So it's
yeah.
like nice that the thing that you're doing is really nice. I feel like on behalf of the open source community, even though I am nobody to say this, but I feel like everybody in the open source community would definitely appreciate this.
I hope so. And that is the end goal. If I am able to create something that can ease up at least 1% of the pain that people have, like contributors, maintainers, and companies, then even then that case, I think I did a great job and like did something. So so that was awesome, and I really like your way of giving the answers. So I really think that that will help a lot to people. And one more thing, I'm really sorry for all this chaos. I didn't know that this software is so trash. I don't know. It is from my side, so I don't know. Like internet is good enough.
Chaos is a part of life. I mean, I would not have enjoyed so much if there was no so chaos. So definitely that is an experience.
Yeah, yeah. So what I was thinking that probably at one point you will just give up and you will say, Ajit, let's talk later on, and then I would upload the only that part
Not
on
at all.
YouTube. So
Not at all.
okay, so that was awesome, and let's talk later. And it was really awesome to talk to you, man. It's really awesome to be honest.
Likewise, it was a fantastic opportunity being here.
Yeah.
Obviously, a great. I obviously like talking to people and being public about what I'm building on Twitter. And
Yeah.
obviously, having the chance to talk to you finally in person was a chance I would definitely not miss. So,
Uh,
yeah, it was a
okay,
great
so
time. I had a great time as well.
let's do a screenshot so that we can post it on Twitter as our. Okay, just give me a second. Awesome. So that is perfect. Okay, so okay then. Let's see you and let's talk later. It was really nice, and thank you so much for giving your time and for this chaos. Also, being able to handle this. So thank you so much for that as well.
Likewise, Ajit, keep doing
Yeah.
great work. Take care.
Yeah.
We'll connect on Twitter
Same,
later.
same to you.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.